Hey, here's a question from Sijal. How soon after an injury or accident should someone visit a chiropractor? Does the length of time in between affect results? Very much so. It's a very good question. And I wish I could just be on television telling people I have public interest commercials, because it's so important. And I think for a person who's been, say, in a car accident or a sports injury, especially car accidents, because there's so much force involved. And a lot of times ligaments and muscles get injured. And the research shows that you have about 90 days to remobilize an area before you'll have a big, thick scar. Those are kind of scars that might limit motion. Also, you may be able to tell when it's going to rain because it becomes more irritable. An area where there's a lot of scar tissue, a lot of nerves have grown around it. It becomes sort of like a trellis work for these pain nerve endings. So it becomes hypersensitive. If you want, they found that you can get a thick, flexible scar if you've got the joint mobilized. And that's the thing. When people go, they go the medical route. They go to see their primary doctor. Primary doctor sends them to an orthopedist. The orthopedist, unless they need surgery, sends them to a physical therapist. Now, the physical therapist is working on that general range of motion and other things, pain relief, and they often use that as a measurement of relief, and they do some other tests. And I'm not bad-mouthing physical therapists. They do great work. But in terms of this, I believe, now perhaps I'm prejudiced because I'm a chiropractor, but I believe the first thing you have to do is mobilize that joint. Because when you have a car accident, especially a lot of people come in, they have soft tissue injuries from what we call a whiplash injury or a hyperextension, hyperflexion injury, where they're hit from behind, the head goes back. Now there's a head restraint back there, right? And if you have a very expensive car, I think the new Mercedes, they have a sensor, so if you get hit from behind, the head restraint comes up to meet your head, which is a very good thing. Also, I used to have these pillows that you could put between your head and the head restraint in the back, so that your head would soften the impact. In fact, one time I was in a car and I got hit from behind. It was just a little tap, but my back was sore for a couple of days afterward. But my neck was saved by the fact that I had this little wedge and my head went into the foam. Because usually, you're sitting in front of the car, you're sitting in your car and you're like this. After a while, you're looking out the window. And so the distance between the back of your head and the head restraint it eliminates the benefits of having a head restraint. So by the time your head goes back and hits it, 0.2 of a second is all it takes to do all the damage. So your head goes back and the damage is done before you hit it. Now, sometimes you'll see, especially when some of these cases go to court, the defense attorney will say, well, that's part of the normal range of motion. Well, they did some research in Japan, and what they found was when you get hit from behind, the first thing that happens is your chin goes back. Your head doesn't just go back. Your chin goes back, and then your head goes back. What that does is it locks the joints. So your range of motion is much more limited once your chin is back like that. So that is one of the mechanisms of injury. So I deal with a lot of special seminars, and I've been certified to work on auto accidents in particular. So I'd say you have to get right to the chiropractor that day, if you can get out of bed or whatever, start the process going. May not get manipulation right away. If there's a lot of swelling and irritation, you may get palliative treatment for a few days, but you want to get those joints remobilized as quickly as possible, because like I said, the thing that's going on there isn't just that you've got an area that's jammed up, you've got an area that's overstretching. Now, if that area that's overstretching is injured, if those ligaments have been injured, if those muscles have been injured, they're going to keep going. They're going to be really irritating that area, make it very difficult for it to heal. So we want to get a person back in shape as quickly as possible. I did a series of seminars for what's called extremity adjusting. So it's all the joints other than the spine. And chiropractors work on shoulders and elbows and wrists, ankles, knees, all the other joints of the body as well. And when I was at these seminars, there were several chiropractors who worked with elite athletes, either professional athletes, Olympic athletes, national teams, and they surprised me. They said, well, if somebody has a sprained ankle, I just get them right on the sidelines there, and I do a manipulation of the ankle immediately. And I thought, whoa, that's got to hurt. And I said, well, it does, but it really speeds the healing process along, because anything that is a force that is enough to cause a tear of ligaments and muscles is also going to affect the joint, so they manipulate the joint. So yes, to answer your question, you want to get mobilization, you want to get chiropractic care as soon as possible after an injury.